As the leader of the Booner Pack, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the f*** up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juice pumping, boys.
Welcome to Crunch Time Sports with Jeff and Booner. It is Tuesday, November 4th. It's the trade deadline recap show, or the lack of trade recap show for the Detroit Lions. Yeah! Hey.
Today, man. That was unbelievable. That might have been the greatest trade deadline I've ever seen in Detroit sports history. It will go down in the history of one of the best we've ever seen.
Yeah, you know, it started off. I mean, I was live earlier for 2 hours, just kind of trying to live react to anything that happened, and you know, you just started seeing all these trades. And Adam Schefter puts out it's like the third most trades ever on trade deadline day, and then you get a notification, and you're like, wait, well, what? And then you just see the Lions have brought in Jack Conley to their practice squad.
Absolute dog, by the way.
Out of Boston College. And
future Zach Martin.
And there is not a single trade by the Detroit Lions. Yeah. So hope everyone's I know we're gonna get some people that are pretty pissed
to the
off.
show.
And today we're going to get into it all, go around the NFL, look at different trades. We'll get into some of Howie Roseman's, he had a press conference today, so we'll kind of do the Howie Brad discussion. We'll share our disappointment, because it seems like most Lions fans, honestly, this might be the most, usually with a lot of things like this, I at least from my experience, it seems like a lot of it's split down the middle with like some issues. If the Lions didn't do something in free agency or whatever, it seems like there's a lot of people that are okay with it. This seems like it's pretty heavy people on the same side, at least from what I've seen. Maybe there's some media that's like defending it, but I feel like among the fan base, everyone's pretty much on the same page with this, at least from what I've seen. Maybe I'm wrong. But all I've seen today is pissed off Lions fans. So that's a lot of what I saw today. Yeah,
I mean, I'm same. I mean, I don't know. I have seen people who are like, oh, whatever, we didn't need it, well, all that. I will say this, and listen, Jeff, this is where it's like, and tell me if I'm wrong. Over the last 2 or 3 years, we've done shows together, have we not? I think I've been the most positive. Probably one of the more positive people in the media, in Detroit Lions media, when it comes to trusting kind of the regime, what Brad Holmes has built, what Dan Campbell's about, what this team is, and then when these steps, every single step of the way, saying, hey, trust in these guys. Today was one of the first moments, I think, in my short career of being like, what is this? Like Brad, they've done such a good job at this regime. And then today's trade deadline, I said last night on last night's show, Jeff, like I 100% guarantee you that they will make a move, just a move. And I think the disappointing part about this whole trade deadline thing was, and I actually heard today there was a caller on 97.1. I was a fan and said it perfectly. Like as someone who covers the team and as well as people fans, like we're all pretty naive, right? Like it doesn't make, it doesn't take much to make fans happy and a fan base happy. But when you're in a position to win a Super Bowl and like, hey, there are moments that make or break seasons. And I'm not saying your season's completely over, but that could really push you into a positive direction and help you out. All you had to do if you're Brad Holmes, like fans are naive. I'm naive. I'm not the smartest tool in the toolbox, right? You could have went and gotten anyone. You could have gotten the 4th string left guard from the Dallas Cowboys if you made a trade for a 6th-round pick. And you know what, Jeff? I would have been like, that man did it. He made a move. The last thing I didn't want to see, because I've been saying the one thing I don't want this team to run into again was being like, let's go get a guy off the practice squad. I want a practice squad guy. That was Jeff, I could give two you-know-whats about a 4th, 5th, 6th round, 7th round pick right now. You use those picks and you go out and get someone that's going to help this team out, whether you use them or not. You show the fan base we're about winning the Super Bowl. That's all. That's where I do think like 50% of this is more so like Brad Holmes telling the city, and as dumb as that sounds, I know it's going to sound so dumb, but telling the city and the fan base and showing your team and your organization, we're going for a Super Bowl this year. Instead, sitting back and being like, yeah, there's some holes in this team. You know, this offensive line hasn't been great as of the last 3 weeks. We have issues. We have injuries. But you know what? I don't know if we're fully all in yet, right? Like 2 years ago, Brad was like, we're not in that Super Bowl window yet. We're not there. Let's wait. Last year, the only reason he made a move was because Aiden Hutchinson goes down. Now this year, you have a chance to solidify and say, hey, let's go all in. Guess what you did? Turned your cheek. Said, I'm all right. I'm going to pass. It's insane. I genuinely, like, I was so convinced. Wait, what did I text you guys at 7 a.m. this morning? Lock in, boys. We've got a day coming for us. Little did that Booner know at 7 a.m. there was nothing that was going to happen besides Josh Conley out of Boston College.
Yeah. I'm surprised. Very, very surprised. And again, I didn't expect you're hopeful for like big trades or, you're hopeful for like a Trey Hendricks. I mean, we could talk about that stuff, but to your point, to not make a single move when you just lost a starting left guard for most of, if not the entire season. They say it's not season ending, but it'll be most of the season. And you're entering of just a brutal gauntlet of games on an offensive line that's already, Jared's on pace to be sacked more than he's ever has as a Detroit Lion. And you look at this offensive line, honestly, an offensive line depth is hard to come as it is in the league, but you have Brad sitting there going, I like our offensive line depth. When no team has offensive line depth, like, you've got to get a start. It is puzzling to me. Like, this offensive line with Mahogany's actually pretty good. Like, he's going to be a good player. And this offensive line was still struggling on the interior. And you think Yodi is going to, or whoever, or Graham at left guard, and you bring in Kingsley or Cologne to start at center is going to fix anything? Like, I'm shocked. It's not even, and again, people are going to pull the whole, like, for the people that are defending Brad Holmes, which, again, there's always going to be some people out there that act like, they just put blinders on and they can't see a single problem with this team ever. But for even those people, it's like, there's no way they're not surprised. Even the people that are like defending Brad blindly, it's like, we all watch these games. We all see the same issues.
Yeah.
The offensive line has struggled to protect Jared Goff. They've struggled to run the ball. Like, we could talk about a defensive end or a corner, but at the very minimum, replacing Christian Mahogany, that does not make any sense to me at all. Even
I think, like, not just replacing Christian Mahogany, but just as fact where, and like those people will be like, well, what was it, Jeff? 6 or 7 offensive linemen since 2003 have been traded at the deadline, right? So it is hard to go out and get them. Like, that's understandable. But again, like I've said it for the last week, you don't have to go out. Like, you didn't have to go out and get a top tier starter. You didn't have to go out and get like the best guard in the NFL. It was just like getting depth, like going and getting a piece. Like, honestly, Jeff, like, if you even just got a DPJ type level of offensive lineman to fill in, and you could argue, oh, well, this guy that they got today, Jack Conley, like, no, he's not. That's a practice squad guy. Like, use some of your assets and go out there and try. The thing that bothers me the most about it, and I was thinking about this on my drive home today, like, Jeff, the analogy to use towards it, I was like, what's the best way to explain how I'm feeling right now? And you know what I came across? I don't know why I thought of like the Roman Empire. It's crazy as this sounds. Have you seen like 300 and all these different movies like that?
Yes.
You know, there's always like the underdog of a right. There's always those stories of underdogs of like, in those wars, there is a group of people who are like, we're beaten up right now. Half of our guys are dead or injured, and we have zero chance versus the other side. I'm not saying that's the Lions, but in my sense, like, you're in week 9. You've lost 3 games already. Last year, you only lost 2 all season, and you still lost in the divisional round, right? Like, you didn't win a Super Bowl last year, and you went 15-2, and you're already 6-3 or 5-3, 5-3, right? 5-3, and you're sitting there with already major injuries on your offensive line. The piece, it's like going into these wars where it's like your front line, that is like that is what you stand on, is like those guys in the front line, and half of those guys died, and you're sitting there in your offensive line, you're like, this is what we rely on, and half of them are hurt. And you're like, all right, if we're going into battle for the next 3 months, we can't go in there half beaten up and not ready for battle. You have to just add pieces to put together to just like, hey, let's tape this thing together a little bit to get us there. Because at the end of the day, once you get into battle, guess what, Jeff? You're not turning back to go get more weapons, or you're not turning back to be able to go get more soldiers. You're in it now. You can't call for backup. And like that was my thought process today in the car driving home with the trade deadline. Was the reason there's a trade deadline and the reason people are so aggressive, like Howie, Roseman, and a lot of these other teams that you see around the NFL, typically like the 49ers most years, they weren't this year because they're not in a great spot. But like typically like some of these GMs that are dominant, that they are aggressive, it's because they know, hey, this is our last chance to gear up and strap up and get our weapons ready to go before we actually head to war. Like that's it. There's no like, hey, we're going to go find a practice squad guy to help you win a Super Bowl. That's not how this league works. It's not. It's worked for Brad last year, but guess what happened last year? You had all those injuries. What happened? It caught up to you because you had practice squad guys. And I think there's a world where Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, they fall in love with these journeymen, these practice squad guys. But guess what hasn't happened with these guys yet? I'm going to break it to you guys, fan. Like, let me break it. This is crazy. They haven't won a Super Bowl doing that. You haven't come close to a Super Bowl. You went to the NFC Championship game and blew a double-digit lead. And why did you blow the double-digit lead? Because you had journeymen in your secondary. Because you had practice squad guys in your secondary. That's not how this league works. You have to have dudes back there. And when push comes to shove, this was your last opportunity to bolster up this team. Whether you had holes or not, look at Howie Roseman. Like, yes, they had some issues defensively. Could they have gotten by without making those moves? Probably. But guess what? They were like, we want to bolster up because we want to make sure we're overly confident going into the rest of the season. And Brad Holmes refuses to do that. Refuses. I think Brad is elite at a lot of things. But I think one thing that we struggle with is like, I think it's going to come back to bite some of us in the butt when you're talking about these practice squad guys and relying on these like, hey, this journeyman, man, he's such a good player, man. He's a journeyman, man. It's such a good story. It's all this. And then once you get to the playoffs, guess what? Those journeymen get beat out by all pros so fast. That was my thought process in the car on my drive home today.
You're spot on. You're absolutely spot on. I mean, we've seen this team. It's not even about the record. Like, they're 5-3, fine. It's about that. We talked about this yesterday. When they play good front sevens, this offensive line struggles, and you're going to play better. You're going to play great teams in the playoffs. I'm not trying to judge this team on whether or not they'll make the playoffs. I know people are overreacting. I think they're going to make the playoffs. And I'm looking at it. How can we win a Super Bowl? Well, all the people that are defending the deadline, you must not agree that the offensive line is the most important position group on this team. You must not agree with that statement. Because if you agree with that statement, then you should have been harping on the fact that they should have added an offensive lineman, knowing how important this offensive line is.
Yep.
Like, now people just want to all of a sudden be like, it's not that big a deal. Like, they're cool, man. They're good where they are. No, they're not. This offensive line is worse from last year, and they just lost their starting left guard for most of the season. So, like, yeah, I care. Jared Goff, we know what he is. He needs to be protected, like every quarterback. Like, it's important, man. Like, I don't want to – people get naive and try and, get on their high horse and act like they didn't need to make a move. You must not agree that the offensive line is important as it is. I don't know about those people. I think the offensive line is the most important position group on the Lions. It's what they're built around. It's how they run the ball so well. It's how Jared's protected. It's how the offense thrives. They just lost a starting left guard. Everyone should have been on board with adding, like you said, somebody to help. So, like, it's and that's the difference between other GMs and Brad. Like, I know we'll talk about the Howie stuff, but just like in general, the way Brad's been doing it, like, listen, I think Brad's an amazing GM. It's not even about thinking the guy's bad or anything. I know people are going to immediately assume that you just because you disagree with something Brad does, you must hate the guy. It's not true. But the biggest thing with Brad that I've always questioned is like, you got to take calculated risks. You have to. I mean, you can't stay pat and just be cool with the depth you have on the practice squad, or, the Yodis of the world, or in your case, the Kindle Vildors of the world when you were in the NFC Championship game. Like, that's going to bite you in the ass. That's going to bite you in the ass.
And it has already in the past.
It's disappointing. I mean, it's the most wide open, at least in recent history, that the league has been. I mean, the Chiefs look beatable. The Eagles look beatable. The Bills look beatable. All these top teams, the Ravens are struggling with injuries. Like, it's like you look around the league, you're like, wow, this thing is wide open. And the Lions they have holes. And you're like, well, hopefully they can fill some of those holes. It's like, no, we're good. It's like, all right, dude. I mean, like, the most wide open the league has been. Like, go capitalize, man. Go try and improve, get better.
Yeah.
There's no perfect roster in the league. And everyone should be wanting to improve. There's no perfect roster, and the Lions seem to think that their roster is pretty much perfect. So
that's why you see most contenders. And I know there are contenders. I know people pointed out, well, what about these teams that didn't make a move? Like, those are teams like the Bills not making a move. I'll tell you what, if you're a Bills fan and you didn't go get a wide receiver, like, yeah, you're going to be like, why didn't you make that move? I sat today all day next to a Steelers fan. Shout out Hanch in the chat. Sat next to him all day today, and he's crashing out because why aren't the Steelers making the move? Right? Like, they have a roster. You go get a wide receiver, that changes that team. And like right here, Jeff, and I'm interested to see what your thoughts too on this. Like, Nick P, Jeff and Booner, do you think the Lions were one player away on the O-line to be a Super Bowl favorite? I don't. See, this is where I disagree with you. There's a reason why some of these contending teams, at which the Lions are, contending teams will go out and make one, maybe two moves at the trade deadline. It's to solidify up position groups. It's where you're like, hey, we're good at this position group. How can we go from good to great? And there have been times this year on this offensive line when they are healthy. And Jeff, you know this, we've talked about it, and I thought about it earlier today, where it was like they've played a good game offensive line wise, where we literally do a show on Monday and we're like, this is a top 5 offense. They just played like a top 5 offensive line. Nationally, people are calling out the offensive line, being like, this is a good offensive line. And then all of a sudden you take injury hits. Then you play a couple bad games and you're like, what's going on the left side of the ball? What's going on with Taylor Decker? He's constantly hurt now. What's going on now? All of a sudden, Nick P, when you say one player away from the O-line, quite frankly, if Taylor Decker's healthy, if Graham's healthy, if Tate's healthy and Panay's healthy, you don't have Christian Mahogany for who knows until when. Potentially till the playoffs, right? Like, he has no one knows the broken bone is. So it's like, quite frankly, yeah, no, you actually are one left guard away from being back to normal on the offensive line. And I think that's the point. Like, if that injury didn't happen on Sunday, maybe we wouldn't have this conversation as in depth, but it did happen. And you saw how bad they were even with him in there, where you're like, you guys were already bad, and then you lost your starting left guard, Jared Goff's blindside, essentially, on Sunday as well. So like that's why you have the trade deadline. And you would think, and actually, Jeff, I said it after the game on Sunday, maybe this game and how bad that O-line looked in Sunday, maybe that was a blessing in disguise to where it showed, hey, we're not great on the offensive line right now. We could use maybe we could use another piece. And I actually thought Brad Holmes saw that and went, yep. And maybe it was Dan, Jeff. I was thinking about this too. Maybe it was Dan that was like, we want to roll with who we have at the offensive line. Maybe he was the one that told Brad no. That could very quite be the situation as well. I know we're all going at Brad. Maybe Dan was just like, he got brought a couple offensive linemen and he was like, yeah, we'll pass. We got Michael Neese, man.
Well, this frustrates me. Like, I've seen this on Twitter already. It's like, well, do you believe they were one player away? No team is. It's not about being a player away from winning the Super Bowl. The right question to ask is, do you believe a starting guard would increase their chances of winning a Super Bowl? That's the question. It's not a player away from winning at all. It's a team game, man. Not one player is going to make you win a Super Bowl. The question is, does one starter on a position you need increase your chances of winning a Super Bowl? Unequivocally, the answer is yes. It's not a debate. A starting left guard is better than Yodi. Another corner, whatever Brad felt they needed if they were to make a trade, another player increases your chances. That is an unquestioned yes. It's not like that statement like you're one player away. I mean, is the Eagles Jalen Phillips away from winning a Super Bowl? No, but guess what? He helps their chances though.
Yeah.
He helps their chances.
Wait, did they trade for someone last year too at the deadline, and then they won the Super Bowl?
They do it. We'll get to that.
Wait, 2 years ago, didn't the Chiefs make a trade wide receiver wise, and then go on and win a Super Bowl? Could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure maybe, and maybe I'm dead wrong on this. Did the wide receiver they traded for the Chiefs 2 years ago? Did he catch the game-winning touchdown pass in the Super Bowl?
Yes.
Maybe I could be wrong. I could be thinking of a different wide receiver. But I actually do think that happened. So you can make moves that change. It's not even about like, and you know what's crazy? I don't even think it's about like trading for a player of need or a position of need. I think it's just like, and you know what? Brad preaches this all the time, and Dan does too. We're always looking to upgrade positions. You don't tell me there wasn't one player out there that they could have been like, we could upgrade this position. They didn't upgrade at all. They didn't upgrade at the deadline at all. You're 5-3. You're not a perfect team. You didn't make an upgrade at all. Not one. You didn't make one move. You didn't show your fan base. You didn't show the front. You didn't show anyone in that building. Hey, we're actually serious about winning a Super Bowl. We are. They didn't show that, in my opinion. And Jeff, have I not? I've been the most positive about this organization and this front office and this regime for the last 3 years. That was disappointing today. It really was. You could have given up a 4th-round pick and just grabbed anyone. Like, it's just, I think it's just a part about like, hey, let's get someone in this building. Let's get some, I don't know, some more juice in this building. Let's add to this team. We're serious about winning a Super Bowl.
That's what it's about. That's what it's about. It's not about being a player away from winning it all. It's about increasing your chances. You're clearly hurting. You're clearly hurting on the offensive line, all right? Or you need. I mean, they could use depth in other places. You can add, man. Like it's not a problem. And listen, I want to go through it because a lot of teams made trades today, and at least like Bills fans. Okay, Bills fans are upset. At least guess what? At least they were trying. They were in the Jacoby Myers conversation. All right, Bills were trying to get somebody. I didn't see a single report today that the Lions were trying to get so and so and just couldn't. Never got beat out. Didn't see.
I heard a couple days ago they made some calls.
Yeah,
I don't know what that turned into, but obviously it turned into. Actually, I do know what that turned into. It turned into nothing. Literally nothing.
Here's all the trades that were made today. I mean, you had Trevor Penning, an offensive lineman, who you pointed out started at guard. He went to the Chargers because the Chargers had offensive line injuries. Sauce Gardner, by the way, that was a big one.
Yeah.
Went to.
Can we? Yeah, I got comments on that one later. I do.
Okay. Well, then we just save it for later. Then it's fine. We can just save all that for later.
Because we got our winners and losers for the trade deadline. No.
Yeah, we can do that. That's fine.
Because I think the Colts. I mean, something about that.
Nolan, appreciate the $2. Let's go find Frank Ragnow and beg him to come back. Yeah, Frank, whatever you need.
Dan commented on that today. I don't know if you heard that.
Yeah, he's not coming back. There's no way.
So there's 0% chance that he will be coming back.
You can have my foot, Frank. You can have my foot. Your average reviewer, appreciate you becoming a Crunch member as well. Yeah.
But can I say this too, like with the whole deadline too, I can't wrap my head around, and this is something that actually, it's really weird. Do you feel like with Brad, and maybe this is, okay, that's just a discussion, Jeff. I'm not going to say the word like inconsistent, but like contradicts himself when it comes to some of these moves that are made. Like the Isaac Tesla thing. Like, and actually you've brought up this point before. You just drafted Isaac Tesla and you traded last year's third and then the next 2 thirds to move up back into the third for a wide receiver that now isn't even your wide receiver, who's kind of just your wide receiver 4, who never gets targeted. But then a couple months later, you extend your wide receiver 2 to a massive deal. So you wasted, essentially, you're willing, and this is where I think my problem comes into a little bit with the trade deadline situation with Brad, is you're willing to waste, and I'm not going to say waste because Isaac Tesla could end up being something, but essentially you're willing in the draft to use 2 third-round picks for a player you knew you were never going to use this year, but you're not willing to use a 3rd-round pick or a pick at the trade deadline to get a player that can impact to help you win a Super Bowl now. That is where it's like that contradicts a little bbit, because then now you're turning the table. You're using those thirds for a wide receiver, but you're also paying JMO. It's like you can't do all of the above, and then all of a sudden when the trade deadline comes around, like, hey, in the NFL draft, I'm so willing to throw out all these picks to move up and get the guys that we love, when some of them, we're not going to even use for the Super Bowl. But we're so very, very cautious all of a sudden when it comes to the trade deadline and using our picks. But we're more than glad to use them with guys that we're not going to use in the first couple of years in the trade or in the NFL draft. That doesn't make sense to me. Like, why are you so willing to use them in the NFL draft? You're not willing to use them at the trade deadline.
Yeah, he's a different GM in the draft. He wants to. That's his thing. That's his specialty. But guess what? There's more to being a GM than just being really good at drafting. I mean, again, free agency, he's actually not done a bad job either. But trades are a part of it, man. Like, trades are a part of it. And it's a perfect segue for later conversation we have later about Howie and Brad, because they're completely two different styles. And honestly, I have another point I want to bring up with the Howie. It's not even about Howie. There's other GMs that think the same way he does, and there's proof it works. But I guess the biggest question is, and this is the question we're going to have to answer, and the question we're going to have to, talk about is, how do we feel about the Lions as legitimate contenders right now? And I think that's a question that we'll answer and you guys can weigh in on. But before we do that, I got to tell you about our friends over at Sleeper. So we'll see you right after the break. We'll get into, are the Lions legit contenders? I've interrupted the video to tell you about our friends over at Sleeper and the new promotion they have going on. A brand new promotion is now live on Sleeper that could be paired with the 100% deposit match promotion that's already been going on. It's a free $20, no deposit required, plus first-time users will also receive 100% deposit match up to $100. Use the code CT Sports. You guys should already be using Sleeper. It's one of the fastest organically growing fantasy platforms in the entire world, with millions and millions of active users. They are crushing it. And if your state allows it, you should be using Sleeper Picks. It's a real money product that connects friends over picks. You just choose 2 to 8 of your favorite players from pregame, live, or across different sports. Pick more or less than the predicted stats. And on Sleeper, you can get up to 1,000x payouts. Share with your friends. Get rewarded together. Don't forget, code CT Sports. Get a $100 deposit up to $100, and you got your free $20 entry. Sleeper is taking care of their customers. Always remember, gamble responsibly. Now let's get back to the video. All right. The question, are the Lions legit contenders? And I just put a poll in the chat. You guys can vote on it. Boone, I'm going to let you go first, because you started this at the same time 2 years ago. All right. You started the Booner path because people felt the Lions were contenders in that first year where they went 12-5. Right? Yeah, 12-5 year. Didn't get an edge at the deadline. Ended up losing in the NFC Championship game. Many people doubted they can make the NFC Championship game. So where are you at right now with this Lions team after this deadline? How do you feel?
Well, I have a feeling me and you might be opposites in parts. I listened earlier in the show that you did, which you did a great job. It was a great show, great live show during the trade deadline, even though nothing happened. I'll tell you what, too, Jeff. I want to say climax. That sounds really weird, but I thought I was as we got closer to 4:00 on that show, I was like, something's going to happen, and this is going to be the greatest live show that we've had on Crunch Time Sports. I was pumped for it. And then all of a sudden, it was the biggest letdown of all time. There was literally 4:00 hit. That was the most anticlimactic moment, I think, in Lions history, where everyone, I was on my phone, I saw 4:00 hit, and I was like, okay, something's coming through. Nothing.
Yeah. That's when we hit the that's when we hit the Undertaker bell.
Yeah. Heart dropped. My heart dropped. I was sitting at a table and I was in the kitchen and I was like, oh my gosh, it really just, and then I saw offensive lineman trade at 4:00 on the dot from the Saints. And I went, oh, he's going to the Chargers. It was so disappointing. That was so disappointing. Let me say this though, Jeff. All right. I think 2 things can be true. And actually I'm going to have a different angle on this. Because obviously, a lot of people, and I got a lot of actually comments today on my Twitter about the Booner Path and people being like the Booner Path is dead, hang it up, and then a lot of people being like the Booner Path's just getting started again. This is the rebirth, Jeff, of the Booner Path, because this was what it felt like 2 years ago. I will say this: the difference from 2 years ago to now, though, was 2 years ago there was zero expectations in that. What was it? The 2023 season.
Yeah, it was
no
it was
expectation.
That was it. That's all people wanted.
Everyone wanted an edge just to get an edge. There was really like that was a legitimate moment, and I was one of the biggest ones on the front line, to where it was like, what is one edge rusher going to do to this team? That was an argument you could make because you didn't have the roster you had today. That was a 2 years ago roster. Since then, you've gone to the NFC Championship game. You've gone 15-2. You had the number 1 seed in the NFC. You've won your division back-to-back years, and you got bounced in the divisional round. I want to start off by saying this, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
This year, moving forward, this is the most pressure that Brad Holmes has had and Dan Campbell and this regime has ever had since they stepped foot in Allen Park.
Agreed.
The most pressure, because this has nothing to do with winning your division. This has nothing to do with making the playoffs. This has nothing to do with going back to the NFC Championship game. You have been there. You have done all of those things. What I think fans are mad about today is that the pressure now that lies on Brad Holmes is that if you do not win a Super Bowl, and I'm saying win. If you get to a Super Bowl and you lose, that's not the same. If you do not win a Super Bowl this year, it is extremely disappointing. And I think the fact that you don't make any moves to solidify this football team on November 4th at 4 p.m. shows the fan base that you feel like this team is good enough to go win a Super Bowl, as is. So I think this is the most pressure that we have ever seen that Brad has had. And if they don't win their Super Bowl, and listen, you know how hard it is to win one? I know people are like, that's a lot, Booner. It's a fact. It is a fact. They're the reason that teams out there like the Chiefs and the Eagles and the 49ers, those teams that are Super Bowl contenders every year, the reason they make those moves is because their fan base and their organization depends on them to play in those games. Because if Howie Roseman, Jeff, I'll tell you, if Howie Roseman only makes the NFC Championship game every year and gets bounced, he's getting fired. Brad feels like that's okay. So are they Super Bowl contenders? I'll tell you what, I think this roster right now, we'll tie all this together. Let me tie my knots together, Jeff. The roster right now, as is, they are Super Bowl contenders. They are Super Bowl contenders. And if they are a healthy football team, they will have an opportunity to win the Super Bowl. Now, the reason I said all of that is because if they do not win the Super Bowl, Jeff, I think it's the most disappointing year that you've had in this Lions organization, in this regime, since Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes have stepped foot in Allen Park. So the expectations are up there. I think that this roster, if it gets healthy, now the offensive line's one thing. I do think there is a massive hurdle right now for them to have to get over. And that's going to be the argument for people that say they aren't Super Bowl contenders, is that this offensive line can't do it. And they have this hurdle to get over that. I think they're going to figure out a way out to do it. I do think they are a Super Bowl contender. I just think you have too good of a roster not to be at the top of the NFC. And I do think that there is a world, and I know you're going to get into this here, I do think there's a world where we've all just got hit with a double whammy and like a double knockout, to where we just got dominated by the Minnesota Vikings. And then within 2 days, you also don't make a move at the trade deadline. So I think there's a lot of Lions fans that have a little bit of poison in their mind, and they're like little recency bias until they see this football team play the next few weeks. And they're going to be like, oh, wait a second, this team is actually really good. And then things are going to change a little bit. It's like a roller. Hey, these Lions seasons, Jeff, it's your thing. It's an up-down theory. After the Packers game, we all were like, yeah, the season's done. And then they go on this winning streak, and we're like, whoa, they're great again. And now we're back down again. And it's going to go right back up again. I'm telling you. Trust me. The Booner Path is no longer the new Booner Path, Jeff. You know what the new Booner Path is? I hate them so much. I hate roller coasters. The new Booner Path is a massive roller coaster, and it is the biggest roller coaster that we've ever been on. But I'm going to tell you what, though, Jeff. The end of the Booner Path, you know what that is, right? We're at the peak, baby. We're at the peak. When it comes January, the Booner Path is going to be it's going to be the biggest mountain in the world. Mount Everest. I don't know if that's the biggest one. Mount Kilimanjaro. But the Booner Path will be back. I actually had a plan to kill the Booner Path today, probably 15 minutes ago. I had this song. Can I play this song for you real quick? I had this song in here. I had this song for the Booner Path today.
You had this?
For the Booner Path.
There you go.
And you know what I decided to do, Jeff? I decided to say, you know what? In Detroit, we don't give up. The Lions don't give up. Brad Holmes doesn't give up. Dan Campbell doesn't give up. Jared Goff doesn't give up. Let the boys get after it. Buckle up. And the Booner Path, we're riding again, huh, Jeff? And I know you're going to shoot this down right after I get done talking, and I don't care. This Lions team's going to go win a Super Bowl. All right? Get ready for the ride, people.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed that you brought the soundtrack and everything. I mean, you almost got me, to be honest, Boone. You almost had me for a second there. That was a great presentation. You know, I think a lot of what you said is like, I think especially the point you made, it is tough. I mean, you lose to the Vikings and then you don't make a move at the deadline. You see issues with this team and people are obviously going to panic. But the question, and I put the poll in the chat. It's about 60-40. That's exactly what it was earlier. It seems like it's closer than people think. At least right now, the vibes are no one thinks they're contenders, but still people are still pretty bought in. And Nolan Johnson, appreciate the donations here. Talking about Brad, he says you can't draft well, got to make midseason moves. You can't just draft well. Appreciate it, Nolan, for that. And then appreciate
Nolan, man.
O-line cannot win a Super Bowl, maybe one playoff game. And I think it comes down to this for me. All right. I think it's tough because I think me and you actually I think we've always pretty much agreed on what a contender really is. Like, if you're one of the best teams in your conference, you should be looked at as a contender. Like, I agree with that. So it's hard for me to say that, and I'd take my opinion out of it or whatever. If I was, national media, for example, looking at the Lions, like let's say I'm take my bias out of it because I know this Lions team very well. They should be looked at as still contenders. I don't think you should just be like, they're not content. They have a ton of talent, skill position players. They have one of the best defensive players in the league. You know, when they get guys back, they're going to be pretty good. But the struggle I have with saying confidently, like, oh, unquestionably they're contenders, is because of what Nolan kind of said. And that was the point I talked about earlier. I struggle with two things here. All right. One, I just don't see how this offensive line being this much of a liability, how they have success in the postseason. I just, it's a scary thing. I get worried.
You scare me saying that, Jeff. You actually do. Because last year you were very right.
That's the only thing that gives me a little, like, it gives me worry. I just don't, like, you're going to face some good teams in the playoffs. If this offensive line can't get their shit together, like, you're screwed, bro. And that's why I'm the most hesitant. Because they have talent. It's not like this team. I mean, I'm not going to, people talking about they're going to miss the playoffs and shit. We're not, dude, like, we got to be realistic. They're still going to, but this offensive line, bro, is a liability. And Jared Goff, he's tough as nails because this guy's been getting destroyed over the last handful of games, and he's still hanging in there, getting up after every play. He doesn't seem like he's been touched, or I should not touched, but hurt. At least it doesn't seem like it. He keeps getting up. He's not a mobile guy. You need to protect him, and I think that's what worries me the most. The run game is struggling because of the offensive line. Like, that's what gives me the most cause for concern. Is just this offensive line, and not, obviously on top of that, Brad not adding anyone. So it's like this is what you got for most of the season until Christian Mahogany returns, essentially. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Like, they should be looked at as contenders, but since they didn't add anyone to the O-line or add anyone point blank period, it does give me, it makes me very concerned because of the point I keep bringing up, man. Like, you're going to face, even let's say they get through the NFC, like even when you get to the Super Bowl, like you're going to face that Chiefs. Let's say the Chiefs make it. You're going to face that Chiefs front seven once again, man. You're going to have Chris Jones against Graham Glasgow. You know, it's just, that's what gives
Can I give you a counter or no?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want my thought process is, and I'm with you. I think there's like contenders, and can I just name? I just want to name some teams real quick. Like these are contenders in my mind, and tell me if I'm wrong or not. Kansas City Chiefs, correct? Contenders.
Yes.
The Buffalo Bills.
Yes.
The Philadelphia Eagles.
Yes.
The Rams.
Yes.
The Colts.
I would say I don't think they're.
I think they're the third best team in the AFC. That's why I would throw them in there.
Yeah. Okay.
So I would just give them. They're going to have a chance to go to the AFC Championship game. And the last two, I'd probably go the Seahawks and maybe the Packers.
Yeah.
And then right on the outside, it's like the Broncos, the Patriots. But at the end of the day, it's like I think when you say contenders and Super Bowl contenders, I will say this: a Super Bowl contender in a season. Any Super Bowl contender can win the Super Bowl in a given season, right? Like a couple years ago, like the Rams with Stafford, everyone was picking the Bucs to win it that year with Tom Brady. Rams were a contender. What did they do? They found a way to get a Hail Mary at the end to beat Tom Brady, and go down and essentially beat Tom Brady, and then they go on and make a run to win the Super Bowl, right? And I know there are typically it's the teams like the Chiefs, the Patriots, like the Tom Brady teams that win it. But there are those years where you do see teams, boom, contenders out of nowhere. They won 10 games. Oh, they won the Super Bowl, like the Giants that one year. Like that happens. I think that, like the Lions are in that conversation. Like, is their Super Bowl chances dead? This is where I think people and fans and I don't know if you're on this, Jeff, but I just don't. I think people need to like take a step back a little bit and be like, wait a second, this team can still win a Super Bowl. Like those guys are going in the building. Their end goal is still to win a Super Bowl, and they truly believe they can do that. And I think they do. I think they have the roster to do it if they're healthy. Now, I think just the situation now is like their percentage to win it with the way their offensive line plays is so much lower than it would be if they had a decent offensive line. And if that offensive line, if they added to it, and you know what I'm saying? Like, I think it drastically changes a little bit. And I do think like this last week with the Vikings look and then this trade deadline just sitting still, I think that takes a lot of people's percentages down as winning it. I just don't think like a lot of people, it's shocking me, to be honest, how many people are genuinely today hopping off the bandwagon and being like, they're just not contenders. Because I think that's dead wrong. I really do. I still think they're going to be competing for a Super Bowl. Is it harder for them to win it now? 100% it is, man.
That's really where I'm at. It's just, it gets harder, man.
And you know what? Percentage higher if you made a move today. Like that's where I think people need to kind of just separate being contenders and getting close to actually winning the Super Bowl. Kind of separate that a little bit.
What I'm concerned about, and I actually talked about this yesterday. We had this conversation yesterday, just about the contenders. Oh, it was actually the true or false thing. And the reason why I said false, or the reason why I hesitated, and I was like, I don't know, is because this Lions team, it's just been the high highs, low lows. That's like aside from the O-line. I mean, the O-line's factored into that, obviously, and that's a whole other concern. But they've just been so inconsistent too. And I know it's still like we still have half the season left. Like I get that. So they can iron some of those things out. But given you just lost a starter for basically the year on the O-line, it doesn't give me a lot of confidence this O-line just going to kick it into gear.
I'll tell you what, I've literally, my confidence level is as low as it's been all year. Like it is very low.
They've just been like low. They've just been like this through this year. It's just like high highs. They score 50, 30, 30. Oh, then they look like trash. Now the last 3 games are kind of struggling on offense. It's like, and then 3 phases of football, they fall apart against a divisional opponent. It's like after a bye week. Yeah. Like it's hard for me to. And again, I'm completely aware there's a lot more of the season. Okay. We could see this Lions team in week 17, 16, 17 could look different. But as of right now, based on what I've seen, it's hard for me to vehemently say, yeah, they're winning this fucking thing. You know,
Oh, we got a celebrity in the chat, by the way. Big celebrity. Steve Carell. That's Carol. Sorry. That's Carol. That's on me. I'm not great.
I like Steve Carell. We'll just go with that one.
Have you today? I do want to ask you after this weekend, after the Vikings, and then the trade deadline. Have you looked at the odds to win the Super Bowl today, or at all?
No.
Okay, not good. What are your thoughts? Like, let's do this. Let's play out. We play this game once every other week.
Yeah.
Let's start from the top down. And you're good. You're actually good. You're better at this than most people. Let's do this. We'll do Super Bowl. We'll do conference.
Okay.
Who do you think number one contender is?
I would say the
favorite. Sorry.
It's between the Bills or the Eagles. Because the Chiefs just lost to the Bills, unless they don't really give a shit about that. It could, maybe they still have, I'll go Chiefs. They still have the Chiefs there, don't they?
What are your odds?
Oh, plus 450.
The Kansas City Chiefs are plus 600.
Okay, plus 600.
At number 1. Who do you think number 2 is?
Say the Eagles. Bills.
Odds? If
Plus-
the Chiefs are plus 600,
750.
700.
Okay. Now we get to those Eagles.
Yep, the Eagles are next.
Plus what, like 900?
750.
Oh, tied. Okay. Tied
Yep.
with them. All right.
No, not tied. So the Bills are plus
Oh,
700,
a little
Eagles
behind.
750. Yeah, just look. Honestly, they're all really close. It's plus 600, 700, 750. Very close.
Okay. And then
This next team is actually pretty close as well.
Rams.
No.
Is it it might be
I don't know if you'll guess this team, if I'm being honest.
it's AFC or NFC?
NFC.
Packers?
Nope.
I'll say they would still have the Packers. I hated that. Who else is in the Am I stupid?
Yeah.
Don't say it. Seahawks.
No.
Oh. Am I stupid? Yeah, I
You've
said
missed-
the Rams,
Rams.
Eagles. I've already said the Eagles. No
Yep.
Seahawks.
Nope. No
Bucks?
Packers. Nope.
Who the hell is it?
There's one team you're leaving
49ers.
off. No, you're leaving off a big team.
Lions?
The Lions are fourth. They have
Oh,
the fourth
I
best
thought we were
odds to
getting
win
to
the
the
Super Bowl. No, that's why that is my whole point with this whole thing right now. Like that's why I want to do the Super Bowl odds, because I don't think people realize, like, and I know like the Super Bowl odds in sports books aren't always like, yeah, I mean, it could drop drastically. It moves. And it also has to do with who they're betting on. But it also has to do with like who is actually the favorite to win it, right? Like who do they think will actually win it? Because they don't want to lose money. Vegas doesn't like to lose money. The Lions literally have the fourth best odds still to win the Super Bowl. They're not 7th, 8th. They're not behind the Rams. They're not behind the Colts. They're not behind the Packers, behind the Seahawks. Nowhere near any of them. And to be honest, Jeff, the Eagles are plus 750. What do you think the Lions are, odds-wise?
Plus 800.
Plus 850. They're not far behind. They're literally, the Bills are in second at plus 750, and the Lions are at plus 850. So I do still think, like, again, put things in perspective. Did we want to beat the Vikings and not look like the worst football team in the NFL on Sunday? 100%. Do we want our offensive line to be one of the best offensive lines in the NFL? 100%. And did we want to make a move at the trade deadline for our GM, the leader of our organization, to show the fan base we are all in for a Super Bowl? Yes, we did. Don't let the blinders cover up that this roster is actually really, really damn good. You still, Jeff, you want to go through this defense? You still have one of the best players at almost every single position in the NFL in this defense. Offensively, you still have the best offensive lineman. We can go across the rest of the offensive line. We'll talk about that later. You still have a top 10 quarterback. You still have one of the best running backs in the league. You have one of the best wide receivers, one of the best tight ends. And as much as you might not like it because he came out very flat this week, you still have one of the best coaches in the NFL. So it's like, at the end of the day, this team's going to have an opportunity to still win a Super Bowl. Don't sit back and let – I'm not letting this happen to you again after 2013, Jeff Iafrate. You can jump off the bandwagon if you want, but the Booner path will roll on, and we're going to keep this thing rolling here. And I'm not going to let all these people who jump off after today hop back on the bandwagon when the Lions are sitting in an NFC championship game versus the Seattle Seahawks, and we're about to beat them by 30. And then all of these people all of a sudden want to be like, oh, I knew this was – no, you didn't. You hopped off on November 4th. This was the same thing in 2013 when everyone hopped off. Am I mad they didn't make a move? Hell yeah, I'm mad. 2023.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Sorry, I was going through it. Sorry, there was a lot going on, but I am mad that they didn't make a move. I wanted them to go all in. I think it was one of the worst mistakes Brad's made since he's been the GM, is just sitting back and not making a move at the deadline today when you have an opportunity to show the world that you're Super Bowl contenders. But please don't hop back on the bandwagon when in January when this team's playing for an NFC championship game and you're sitting there going, ugh. Yeah, I will clip every single one of you and I will go get every single one of your comments in this chat and every single part. I've already flagged probably 15 to 20 tweets in my comment section of people that I see in this chat all the time. All right.
Yeah, you listen. Hey, I don't mind getting. You can clip me with my lack of confidence with the O-line.
You were spot on last year. That's why I'm a little scared of you, man.
It scares. It's the O-line and just this team's got to show more consistency. That's really where I'm at with it. I think this team's pretty, and you could have way more issues than that. Okay, look at the bright side. But those are still pretty important issues, giving your quarterback thrives when he's protected. You can't protect him. So they got to figure that out. They absolutely do. Appreciate the super chats here coming in. Nobody, we'll read them all, by the way. Nobody, I was going to, thank you for the $5. I was going to crack a cold one because I was sad, but after that, I'm cracking a cold one because the Booner path is here and it's never wavered. Come on, boys.
And we're back, baby.
Shout out.
A lot of people say the Booner path was just is bad and it's a jinx when in all reality, when the Booner path and everything got created, it was a path to go to the NFC Championship game when everyone said it was never going to happen. And Jeff, do you remember what happened?
That the year they made the NFC Championship game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm technically 1 for 1.
Nolan Johnson, appreciate the $2, bro. He says the line was Swiss cheese on Sunday. He ain't lying. It was Swiss cheese.
It was.
Another $2. Prediction for Lions Commanders without Jane Daniels. Listen, that game, I don't care. This game, let me make this very clear. What we talk about has nothing to do about the record. Like I saw a comment earlier. It was like, they can't win every game, guys. No one, it's not even about we're talking big picture. Do I still have the Lions at 12-5, 11-6? Yeah, I think they're at that. They're going to win double-digit games. I think they'll still win the division. Even though it's getting a little tricky, I still feel pretty good about that. We're not talking about that. I don't want regular season, the most regular season wins award. I want a Super Bowl. That's what we're talking about. It's not about winning every game of the year. Like they're going to drop some games, man. It's about judging this team and seeing, can they win a Super Bowl? That's what the conversation's about. So that's what matters, man.
Do you ever on our Twitter just read the comment section? Like I go to our alerts and read the comments?
No. What's the comments? Are people freaking out?
Yeah, I just got an alert on my phone. It's genuinely it's something. This alert that I just got. No Super Bowl expectations. That's for damn sure. Oh no, we suck again. Like
to answer
it's
Nolan's
nuts
question,
to me.
They're gonna blow out the Commanders.
Oh. Here's the most recent one. They are not a contender for the Super Bowl with this roster. Needed a couple pieces, but Brad failed. This is all of my comments. Every single comment that I'm getting on my Twitter right now. It's every minute I'm getting a new one that says that. Sorry, go ahead. I apologize.
Look at this one. Trout Runner JH says, we're not a player away from winning it all, but we are one player away from no lineman going down and missing the playoffs.
I don't see that.
Always hurt. I don't think they'll miss the playoffs, but I think to his point, like you already don't have Christian Mahogany. Let's say Taylor Decker gets hurt.
That's the worry for sure.
Is toast.
Yeah, you think Giovanni Manu is going to step in the playoff? I guess the only argument you can make is like, Skip, we need you, man.
No, it'd be Skip and Yodi on that side.
Yeah, like we need. I will say this though, and I do think people do it. Like take a step back real quick. There's two things that I think people are kind of overlooking. One, Christian Mahogany will be back. He's not out for the season. I don't even know if they're going to throw him on IR. They made roster moves today, and guess what they didn't do? They didn't throw him on IR. So I don't know what the long-term thing is for Christian Mahogany, but he's going to be back. So you're going to end up being fine at left guard. And number two, there's a player no one's talking about that can play any position, maybe besides center. And he tweeted out today. Did you see that?
Miles Frazier.
Miles Frazier is actually a good football player. I do have confidence that
phase 2 of coping.
No, listen. What I'm saying though is if it comes down to it in the future and Taylor Decker goes down, maybe there's a chance Miles is already back and rolling at that point.
I do like Miles Frazier.
Ryan said he's going on IR on Saturday, talking about Chris Mahogany. Probably, but he's not out for the season.
Miles Frazier.
I think Miles, there's a chance. I watched. I tweeted out his highlights today from LSU. He allowed 0 sacks last year in the SEC, by the way. I think Miles Frazier could be legit. It might take him a little time, but if you can maybe move this offensive line around a little bit to be able to, if you need him, he's probably better than Giovanni Manu. Skip.
You need him to be Christian Mahogany of last year. Step in, be elite. That's what we need out of Miles Frazier. That's pretty much what Mahogany did last year.
Come on, Frazier.
Shout out. And by the way, to Nolan's question earlier, expectations, they're going to blow up the Commanders. That's my expectation.
For sure.
It's not going to mean that doesn't change what we're talking about. Lost Angels, thank you for the $5. Brad was never going to trade for anyone, LOL. Frank retires and we lose Zeitler for agency. Of course, our line is horrible. Graham is not Ragnow. You know what they miss the most? We actually, because you hear a lot about the miscommunication thing. They miss what Frank brought to the table mentally, for sure.
Yeah,
because he's obviously physically a great player, but they miss his value. Like, especially Brian Flores, who blitzes as much as he does. Frank was always on top of that shit, man. And they obviously had Ben, so you had Ben and Frank together. Now it's John Morton and Graham Glasgow.
I don't like to, if I'm just being honest, I hate the fact of them being like, we're going to move Graham. Like, we're going to move this thing around.
Yeah.
Because Graham, I mean, does no one, am I the only one that remembers Graham Glasgow being like, I hated left guard? And then now all of a sudden they're like, yeah, let's get Graham back to left guard and throw Michael Neese at center.
Yeah.
Like, this guy publicly was like, I hated playing left guard. I was so unhappy at left guard. And then Dan today is like, yeah, we're starting to look at moving around the offensive line and getting Graham to left guard, getting Michael Neese in there, getting Tristan Colon at center.
Tristan Colon.
If you think Graham's bad at center, what do you think the man? Like, do you remember how bad this guy was at left guard last year? Am I the only one that remembers that?
No, he was bad. Yeah. No.
Oh my good baby Jesus!
It's
unreal, dude.
They're good, man. They're good. We got Tristan Colon. Someone says, is it colon or cologne? It's cologne. I think I said colon when he first got here. I was
Tristan,
like, wow.
we've got Tristan Colon.
Yeah, it's good old cologne,
funny.
man. Yeah, I better hope Miles Frazier is like the next Lomas Brown. I really do hope Miles Frazier comes out as just Lomas
What about Jack
Brown.
Conley? You think he could be?
Jack Conley. I hope Jack Conley's like Joe Thomas.
I heard the doc today was like, we don't care that you got Jack Conley, but today was like the only day just like the doc was like, you should have told the agent and the player like, hey, we'll get this done tomorrow, but fan base will not be happy if that's our only move today. Like, just hold off a day on this one.
Yeah, that's it's tough. And you know, it's perfect. Now we can get to this Howie and Brad thing because Albert Breer put out 2 different tweets about Brad Holmes and Howie Roseman, kind of comparing their styles. And then I have a video of Howie Roseman's press conference, which was just music to my ears, Booner. It was just, and it's like he's got, watching Howie Roseman, it is impressive. I mean, it's kind of what the Lions fans have been kind of asking for. He spoke directly about, so it's very relevant. So I'll show off Albert Breer's tweets and then we'll play the video and then we'll get into the conversation because essentially what this conversation is going to be about is what style works, not just works, but what do you prefer? You have Brad Holmes' style, which he's kind of shown, draft, develop, extend homegrown talent. And then you have Howie Roseman, which is draft and develop, but also be aggressive, make moves in free agency, go get a Saquon Barkley or make trades like A.J. Brown or make trades to try and get better, to try and win a Super Bowl. So there's kind of 2 different approaches to how you build a roster. And Albert Breer put this out about Brad Holmes' approach, or excuse me, Howie Roseman's approach. And Albert Breer said, the magic of what Eagles GM Howie Roseman does isn't trading a third for Jalen Phillips. Anyone could do that. It's about being strong enough in asset management to have 3 third-round picks stockpiled, so moving one of them isn't a big deal. That's what makes Philly different. Because they've had coordinators leave that are really good coordinators. They've had players leave like Josh Sweat, and they've gotten picks for them. So that's why the Eagles have been able to get picks. They haven't, they can't re-sign certain players, but they get third rounders. And they are able to trade one for Jalen Phillips, which, by the way, if he leaves, they get another pick back. So it's how it goes. And then you have the Brad Holmes approach, which is a little different. All right, and clearly it's been successful for the Lions up until this point. But Albert Breer put this out. He said, Detroit's build is a fantastic example of what you can do if you hit on draft picks. You have the ability to go to them early, fold existing years into extensions, and keep your team together. Easier said than done, but good on the Lions for being aggressive and paying their guys. So
these are like literally complete opposites.
No, they're it's pretty a little different.
The tweets, I think, are like 5 days apart.
Yeah, and I don't know. This is how I look. I mean, it's a little different. Like Howie Roseman they still extend guys they want to extend. Like, they extend like Jalen Hurts or the Devonta Smiths of the world. They'll keep guys they want to keep, but they also will go get an A.J. Brown and give him some money. They'll go get Saquon and give him some money. Like they'll be aggressive in different ways. And Howie, just hear Howie in this clip, please. Like just hear. Can we just listen to Howie speak and then we'll react to it? Howie Roseman spoke to the media today, and he talked about risk, being aggressive, why it's important, why he believes it's important. This is just his opinion. And you guys can tell me whether or not you think what he's saying is fair. So here's Howie Roseman discussing just his approach to what he does with the Eagles.
Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett, who you both you were reportedly interested in trading for each of those guys. Michael Parsons, of course, before the season began.
Are you trying to get me fined by speaking of players on other teams? Is that your goal here, Jimmy? Well, I can see that being your goal.
The players aside, it does seem like you are willing to, make a big swing and trade multiple future first-round picks. Whether it's for those players or anyone else. What makes you comfortable, trading away those kinds of draft assets?
I feel like when there's opportunities to be aggressive for the right players, we're not going to sit on our hands. I don't think that you have great success without taking great risks at times. They got to make sense in terms of the risks that you're taking. And so, we can't be afraid to fail. I think for a lot of times, for you to get to the top, that you got to be willing to take chances that, may look controversial at times. And so, if there was an opportunity to do that, we thought gave us also an opportunity to be the last team standing, put confetti on our head, we're going to go aggressive in that direction. I feel like that's the right way to operate our team. And that doesn't come without mistakes. I understand that. But, I won't live with regret. I won't live with regret in the way that we operate around here. And so if we feel passionate about something, if we think the value's right, we're not going to be afraid to pull the trigger.
I don't even know what to say after that. That man was spitting. He was saying exactly, I think, what Lions fans are thinking. Can we say two things can be true? You could be aggressive like Howie Roseman, but you also could be great at drafting like Dan Campbell.
Or Brad Holmes.
Brad Holmes. No, like.
Or how about this?
It's not that crazy.
By the way, Howie can draft too. You can do both. Yeah, and by the way, he's drafted one hell of a raw. I mean, he drafts a lot of good players. So Brad can do that. And guess what? Guess what Brad does? Brad can trade. He trades up a lot in the draft. Guess what Howie does? You see that video?
Trades.
The war room? He's
trading. I know something Brad doesn't do that Howie does, though. Howie trades back constantly and trades up. Howie will leave a draft with more assets than he started the draft with and also still get the same amount of picks that he started with. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's I could be wrong. Maybe in the draft, that's something Brad, he's very, very good at drafting. He's good at trading up to get his guys. But asset management when it comes to adding more picks, like trading back, knowing, hey, my guy's going to still be there if I trade back. I'm able to get back, get an extra pick or two. I can get my guys that I love, add a couple assets, because those assets in the future, like the reason, again, like Albert Breer tweeted out, the reason that the Eagles were able to make all these moves at the trade deadline without being, handcuffed to, assets is they had 3 third-round picks in 1 year, and they could trade them, and they could still have their third-round pick. Where Brad, instead of Brad having extra assets at the deadline so he can go all in like Howie Roseman, what did Brad do? He traded up 3 or 2 third-round picks for a player that's not playing for him.
Let that just simmer for a second.
That's the difference between being great and good. And like Brad's top 5, top 6 of the NFL. Howie's number 1. There's a reason why he just won a Super Bowl, and he's been in multiple over the last 3 or 4 years.
And I want to make this very clear too. No one's saying Howie's perfect. He's actually made mistakes.
For sure.
He gave Carson Wentz a lot of money, and he had to get off of that because they drafted Jalen Hurts and he was the franchise. He drafted Jalen Reagor in the first round over Justin Jefferson, and then had to correct and trade for A.J. Brown. But guess what Howie always says, man? Like, you have to, what did he say the quote was? Like, you have to take risks. You have to take risks. It's like owning a business. You have to take risks to sometimes get to the top. It's just part of it. Like, you can't just, like he said, we're not going to sit on our hands and do nothing. And I think that's the part of being a GM that I don't think Brad is fully comfortable with. Not that he has to be, like Howie talked about, you don't want to be irresponsible and make stupid risks, but like Howie, yeah, he's not perfect. He's made mistakes, but guess what? He always bounces back from them. And I bet you Brad could do the same exact thing because Brad's a smart dude. Like, Brad has made mistakes, and guess what? He fixes them. That's what great GMs do, man. You look at some of the best GMs in the league, they all aren't perfect. They make mistakes. I think Brad sometimes is afraid of making a mistake. It's like, or he's afraid of taking a big risk in return, potentially making a mistake. It's okay. Like, Howie went and got, here's the thing that I want to make. This is the biggest difference between both GMs. Both GMs can draft. Both GMs can draft and develop, obviously. I think Brad, I will give Brad credit. I think he's pretty good in free agency. I don't know if you would agree with that. He's done a pretty good job in free agency.
I think he's done a good job.
I think the missing part is what Howie has done. And I'm going to bring up Les Snead too. He's a good example of this. Both of them know when to go all in and when to be aggressive. The Eagles got A.J. Brown, and I know right now we're laughing at it, but A.J. helped them win a Super Bowl. A.J. helped them made another Super Bowl prior to that. So it worked out for them. They costed them a first-round pick, but he's been really good for Jalen Hurts, not as of late, but early in his career, he was really good for Jalen Hurts. He also went and got Saquon Barkley, paid a running back in free agency to come join the Eagles. He put them over the top. That was a massive move to go get Saquon Barkley, a big acquisition in free agency. Les Snead traded for Jalen Ramsey. Les Snead went and got Von Miller to pair with Aaron Donald. Les Snead went and traded 2 first-round picks to get Matthew Stafford. Like, some of these guys, like, you got to take risks. It's just part of it, and I think Brad, and I talked about this earlier, my theory, and I don't know if this is correct, it's just a theory. I think Brad is still relatively new as a GM. I know it's been a couple years, but it seems like Brad is kind of, I don't know if he's at the point where, like, Howie's been with the Eagles for a while. Les Snead's been with the Rams forever. Like, those two have been with the organizations forever. So they're at a point where they're kind of like, I ain't going nowhere unless it fails completely. I think Brad's still at this kind of stage where he's a little hesitant to make these type of moves because everything's going so well. He doesn't want to mess it up. But, like, I think it comes down to just confidence in your ability as a GM that, like, hey, if I make a move and it doesn't work, I would have Brad's back if he did something aggressive and we knew his intention was to try and go all in and win a Super Bowl and it didn't work. Like, yeah, people are going to be pissed, but it's like, hey, you can't fault the man for trying. I think it's worse when you don't do anything and you don't win. Then it's like, dude, people get frustrated. But people, like, I'm sure Eagles fans can look at some of Howie's moves and be like, yeah, Howie fucked up here, or screwed up there. But at the end of the day, guess what? He's got them 3 Super Bowl appearances in the last 8 years, and he's won 2 of them. Like, it's tough. So I think that's where Brad's got to take that next step. Just get comfortable, be a little more aggressive, have more confidence in himself that if he does make a mistake, he can fix it. Because I believe he could easily.
I think what you said is spot on, by the way. Like, I think people, if he makes those moves, and he might be a little hesitant because he obviously long-term, but I do think, like, with some of these moves, like, I think you have the luxury when you do have a team that's built already, and I think this might be where Brad more so maybe has to realize a little bit where he's scared to give up, let's say, a first or a second round pick because, he is good at picking, right? Like he's good in the draft. But like you don't, at the end of the day, like do you need those picks? No. Because essentially your roster is already filled out. Now, I don't want to ask this to the chat. I want to ask this to you, Jeff. Like, would you have been mad if Brad would have used, let's say, like a third round pick to go get, or future third, or maybe like a fourth or like a second, I don't know, whatever they have available outside of the first round to go get the guard, the Wiley guy out of the Commanders, right? Or you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Andrew Wiley.
Andrew Wiley. So say he made that move, and then he also made a splash move like a Howie Roseman, Les Snead type of move, and he goes, I'm giving up my first round pick next year because I think it's going to be the 32nd pick and it's going to be we're going to win the Super Bowl. I'll give that up for Trey Hendrickson. And at the trade deadline, we're going to make the biggest splash in the NFL. We're going to get Trey Hendrickson and Andrew Wiley. And we're going to bolster up our defensive line for 1 year. And we're going to have Andrew Wiley for 1 year at the left guard position until Christian Mahogany's back. And now our offensive line's good to go going forward, and our defensive line's great. And I just showed this whole fan base that I'm all in on a Super Bowl this year, and we want to win. And I just did what Les Snead's done in the past. I just did what Howie Roseman's done, and I've done just like all those examples that you've given, Jeff. I've done all those. If you go to the Super Bowl and you lose in the Super Bowl, I can almost guarantee you the fact that you went all in, I don't think there would be one Lions fan that was mad at Brad Holmes.
Nope.
I think every Lions fan and everyone who covers a team would look at Brad Holmes and give him a round of applause and be like, I actually appreciate the fact that we finally had someone in this city who was ready to kind of take a step forward and put their what on the table and show everyone that we want to win a Super Bowl and we're serious about it. Because then guess what? You lose those two. Okay, you don't have a first round pick next year. Okay, you still have a second. Go draft yourself a tackle in the second round. Be Brad Holmes. Make a couple moves in the draft and go, find those guys you find in the third, fourth, fifth round. And then you start over next year, right? And you sign a couple guys in free agency and you start over next year. And guess what, Jeff? You're still a Super Bowl contender. Even though you gave up a first and a second or a third round pick for those guys. And you probably didn't re-sign them. But guess what? You went to a Super Bowl and you showed the whole city, I'm about winning a Super Bowl. And that, you know what we're doing next year? We're going to go win it. And we're gonna be right back in the same position because our core is signed. And if I'm being honest with you, as soon as I saw all these signings, all these long-term deals get done, you know what one of the first things that went through my mind was? Brad's ready to go all in, and he at the trade deadline and in the free agency and all, like he is going to start making those big time moves. Like that was why I think I said yesterday there was 100% chance of Brad Holmes making a move, was because this guy has gone all in on your core team to where it's like you don't need all these draft picks anymore. You have your core. You've done your job. And yes, we want to keep building your core. And like, yes, you're going to have to let guys like DJ Reader go. And you're going to maybe have to let Anzos go and Taylor Deckers go. So you're going to need to use the draft to replace those guys.
But they're here now.
But they are here today. And it's not like you're going to have 0 picks in next year's draft. You're going to still have opportunities. You can make trades to go out and get more draft picks if you want to. You can use future picks to move up. You have to make those moves. And it's like, in my thought process, it's like, if not today, when are you going to do it? Because you literally just signed everyone to their long-term deals. You have 2 other guys or 3 other guys that you have to sign, essentially. Why not this year? This is the year to do it. Now, again, like I said, I still think they can do it, and I think they will. But if you went in out there and you made a bold move, and you made a move like the Colts did with Sauce Gardner, where the Colts basically just put their nuts on the table and said, we're trying to win a Super Bowl in the next 2 years. And you made a move like the Dallas Cowboys, who they've won 3 games. And what did they do? They went and got Quinnen Williams. Like, some of these teams are out here just making moves. And I know like these teams are not as good and they might not be good long-term like the Lions. Again, Jalen Phillips to the Eagles. The Eagles are, hey, we're trying to win this thing back. We're trying to go back to back.
Yep.
We're trying to go back to back. And we're going to do everything for it. And what did they do last year at the trade deadline? Made moves. What did they do last year in free agency? Got Saquon. That's just, it seems like that's something Brad doesn't want to do. And I'm actually, Jeff, I think that was a great point by you. I do think that was a great point. That at what point, when is Brad going to do that? At what point? Because you have to.
Even the Rams getting like Roger McCreary, the corner from Titans, like It's one trade less need made. It's Roger McCreary. They need a corner. It signals to the fan base like, hey, we need a corner. We're trying to win. Let's get one.
Yeah.
Like, let's do it. Let's make some moves. Let's try and improve. And to your point, like, I get the replenish thing. Like, I understand it, but guess what? Actually, it's not like you got Bob Quinn drafting. I mean, Brad can find talent anywhere. And of course you want him to have draft picks. I get that. But if you don't have a second round pick one year and let's say you have a third instead, or let's say a fourth, I still have full faith Brad's going to find some stud somewhere. He does it every single year, man. He can draft, which actually gives you an advantage if you were to trade away picks, kind of like Howie Roseman, where, Howie can find guys in different rounds just like Brad can. So you should feel more comfortable, and you have guys right now under contract. Like, I don't want to hear about replacing Sam Laporta. You have Sam for 2 more years. You have Brad. You have Brian Branch for 2 more years.
Do you think there's actually a world, though? I know this, like, where Dan is maybe the one that's like, Brad is bringing him, like, hey, we got Trey Hendrickson with this deal. Would you be able to want him? And Dan's like, no, we're good with Marcus Davenport. Keep your assets. Use them in the future.
I wonder how their communication is. I would like to think that Dan would have, like, the support. Like, he would be full behind whatever Brad wants. Like,
yeah, but do you think Dan likes, like, his guys, though? Like, how he talks about his guys?
I don't know.
Who do you think that is? It's
shame on, you know what? If that is the case, shame on Brad for not, like, trust your gut. Like, if that is an actual, let's say hypothetically that is a thing, like, Brad should be like, I get that, but we're going to get you talent, man. And I would hope Dan would be like, okay, like, all right. Like, Brad should not let Dan dictate whether he's not the GM. I mean, Dan's not. And by the way, Brad isn't the coach. Brad isn't going to go up to Dan and be like, hey, I didn't like what you did there on 4th down in that game. Like, that's his job. Your job is to get talent. Your job is to make this team as good as they can be. And he's done a really good job. But yeah,
I don't think Dan would. It's just so weird. It's just like, I wonder how those conversations go. Cause Dan on 97.1 this morning was essentially just like, yeah, like, or maybe it was the other day in the press conference. Like, yeah, Brad's brought me some guys and we've looked at some guys and we've done our homework. And then it's like, well, if you guys are doing that and going through that, how did no one end up getting, like, you just don't like anyone?
Right. Now, we'll get to the super chat. We'll get to around the NFL and the trade deadline. First, I got to hear from our friends over at Comar and Cross. We'll be back in 1 minute. I've interrupted the video to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, Comar and Cross, and their 1-day installation for concrete floor coatings, garages, basements, patios. They do it all. And I'm sure you're tired of staring at your crack-stained garage floor. Well, I have the answer for you. Comar and Cross in their summer installation sale, they're offering 12 months same as cash or $500 in savings. Why put it off? You can contact the number 248-834-3488. They transform patios, pool decks, basements, even driveways. They do it all. And the best part is they move the stuff out for you. They repair your cracks and pits before applying your stunning new floor, guaranteed. Comar and Cross concrete floors never chip, crack, or peel like epoxy or paint. Again, you could call the number 248-834-3488, or you can book your free estimate at comercross.com. Let's get back to the video. All right, let's get to some of these super chats. We got a couple coming in that I didn't get to already. The Lost Angels, appreciate the $5. Says Brad was never going to trade for anyone. Oh, yeah, we already talked. I already read this one. The next one, they appreciate another $5. Lions fans, we are roading the O-line. It's always rough when you go from old to young. Next year, the line will be fixed with round 1 to 2 center and left tackle. We good. Yeah, but that's after the season. All right. We understand that. Obviously, he's going to draft and continue to draft. J-Rod, appreciate the member for 16 months. IR is our roster.
Yeah.
And Miles Frazier can play center.
I'm so interested in this. You guys think I'm joking? I'm so interested in this Miles Frazier one.
Yeah,
I know it's another rookie, but excuse me.
Miles Frazier. We need you, man.
You.
Teddy, appreciate the $2. Says Howie has guaranteed job security. Other GMs don't, which actually is and this isn't aside from Brad. There are GMs that are more hesitant because of their job security, but Brad should know, like, dude, you're like a savior in this town, man. Like,
there's no way this guy loses it. Like, he could make all these big moves and like 5-10 straight of them are bad. And it's just like, okay, we're still winning games. Like, you still have this roster.
Yeah. He's got job security. He doesn't Howie Roseman level, but he's got job security.
Outside of the Jared Goff trade and like trading Stafford, which I don't even know if it counts because Stafford requested out because of the whole new regime and everything. He was kind of tired of it. Maybe trading up for JMO, but like Has there been a big like swing from Brad Holmes since he's been the GM? He's obviously crushed the draft and he's dominated. And he's been probably the best since he's been in the league at drafting and has built the team. But like, what big swing trades and big swing signings and things like that has he really made where you're like,
the biggest one is what you said, I think. It's the JMO. It's the draft one. He moved up.
That's the only one though.
In the first round. I think that's the only one. I mean, like signing DJ Reed, it's like, well, they needed a corner. It was a big move, obviously, but they replaced Carlton Davis. I don't think that's like a massive swing move. You know what I mean?
I would just love to. I would love to go back to free agency and see who Brad decided to talk to and not talk to. Like there are guys that were out there like who signed for, $3 to $6 million, and you ended up signing Levi O, Marcus Davenport, these random players where it was like how much? Josh Sweat was what, 10 million, but like sign him instead of those two combined. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, it's like
make a swing and a miss, man. Like swing.
Like shout out to Ryan, by the way. He says, "What has Howie done? Howie traded a first-round pick for AJ Brown, and now, and I know right now it looks bad, but at the time, like AJ helped them reach a Super Bowl, and they won a Super Bowl with AJ Brown."
Ryan's joke that has to be a sarcastic comment.
Yeah, like
I would just want a Super Bowl. You can't. There should be no Lions fan. I've seen it a couple times, not a lot because I think majority of Lions fans respect Howie Roseman because they want to. You can never be like, "What has Howie done?" That's the last thing. The man just won a Super Bowl, and he's been to a Super Bowl 2 years ago. What are we talking about here?
I don't know about that. I mean, traded a first-round pick for AJ Brown. Like, I mean, he
signed Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, like gave long-term money to a running back, like which Saquon's obviously, a different type of running back.
Every trade deadline, he's added pieces like essentially let's put them over the top.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's I think that's the part, Brad. He's
like Ryan's arguing it still. He's correcting himself because he drafted Jalen. Ryan, I just want to ask one simple question that will end this whole thing. Did Howie Roseman build the team that won a Super Bowl?
Well, he's won 2 and made 3. Yeah.
Okay, that's all. That end of story. Argument's over.
And I think
argument is dead.
You know what I think too, man? I actually said this today. In today's NFL.
Shout out Ryan, by the way.
And I people are gonna like me saying this.
Did I freeze or did Jeff freeze? Am I frozen right now? Oh no. Am I frozen or is Jeff still talking? Am I frozen? Someone in the chat just tell me if I'm talking. I don't know what's happening right now. All right, I'm guessing Jeff is frozen. I don't know if it's me frozen or him frozen. All right, it's just Jeff. Okay. That man just left us with the ultimate cliffhanger. The ultimate cliffhanger. I thought I froze and I was like, oh no, here we go. I don't even know what Jeff was about to say. Should I keep him on the screen here too? I don't know. That is unbelievable. Oh no, he's gone. He just left me. All right. That's just me. I have no clue what he was about to say, but whatever he was about to say, it felt like it was going to be really, really good. Shout out Teddy in the chat. He has an Eagles thing too, by the way. Yeah, that was Jeff that froze. It might be Russia. I don't know. Honestly, you know what could be happening right now? Allen Park might be shutting us down. Brad Holmes might have put a call in. Brad Holmes might have put a call in on Jeff. He was tired of hearing what Jeff had to say. Jeff declined the Booner path. Teddy said Jeff is a robot. He was about to drop a bar as well, Etienne said. Yeah, Jeff was about to drop a bar. I might just have to do the show by myself for the next 30 minutes. I don't know if he hasn't texted me. Oh, no, he did text me. He said his internet went out. Be right back. All right, Jeff will be back in a little bit. We're back to the Boone Show here. It's not a week of Boone, but it's just the Boone Show. I have no clue what he was about to say. Something about Howie Roseman. I do think this with Howie. And I listen, I haven't been someone, and let's just keep this ball rolling here with Brad Holmes and Howie Roseman. I've been one of the biggest supporters of Brad Holmes over the last 3 years. If you've watched, as you guys know that, I really think Brad Holmes has to make a Howie Roseman move. He does. He really does. You do have to see it. Full Slate Farm said Jeff crashed out earlier. I was watching earlier. It was funny seeing people say that he crashed out. Keith said, I was looking forward to a Brad presser today. I know I texted the doc today to see if he to see if he was going, and he said he was not, which is shocking. He typically does as well. He typically does after the trade deadline and the draft and free agency. Ryan Anton said, correcting yourself and signing the best running back for $12 million is not big moves. Howie's good because he drafts well and puts resources in an O-line and D-line and is smart in free agency, not big moves. Ryan, I think that's the exact point that we're kind of trying to make here is Howie Roseman has won 2 Super Bowls. Again, he's been to 3 Super Bowls. He's constantly in the running to be in Super Bowls with his roster. It's not because he just sits back and he watches people make moves and he just drafts well. It's because, hold on, Jeff, I'm going off real quick. Ryan, it's because he makes those swing and misses. And at the end of the day, Ryan, the whole point that I think Jeff and I are trying to make is if you are Howie Roseman, you are going to make mistakes. You are going to miss. Like, you are going to mess up. But the fact that you make those big moves and you constantly do that, even when you mess up, that's what puts you in the Super Bowl. Because when those big moves work, that's when you win the Super Bowls. So if you never try those moves and you never are making big swing and misses, or you're never swinging at the fences, guess what? You can't hit a home run if you don't swing for the fences. You see what I'm saying? You can't. You can't win a Super Bowl if you're not trying to make big moves. And guess what comes with making big moves and swinging for the fences? Mistakes. And you have to find ways to correct yourself. And Ryan, what did he do to correct himself? Guess what? He won a Super Bowl, and he's the reigning world champion right now. So there's no excuse for it. Like, yeah, are you right? Like, yeah, you're right. He's made mistakes, and he's had to correct those, and he's done that. And he corrected them, and he's won Super Bowls from it. But with Brad Holmes' point to the point of this whole thing is, like, I would rather Brad continue to be one of the best drafters in the NFL. He's always going to have assets. You're always going to have draft picks somehow, some way. Like, a team just doesn't lose draft picks, right? Like, you're not going to have 0 draft picks. He's going to have draft picks. I would rather Brad Holmes continue to draft very well and just constantly swing at big moves to where we're in the Super Bowl every 2 or 3 years. But maybe that one-off year we end up missing it because he messed up on one move, than just to sit back and never swing and constantly be losing in the NFC Championship game, or constantly having to use practice squad players and rely on journeymen on the roster. I'd rather be on the side of, like, let's just swing and miss. Let's swing, because you're going to hit a home run at some point. And especially as good as Brad Holmes is a GM, I can guarantee you if he did swing for the fences, that man would hit. He would. So I don't know why he doesn't. I don't. Sorry, Jeff. Welcome back.
No, I appreciate you holding it down. And I think I got booted off air. I don't know my internet.
To be honest, when you froze, I thought it was me, and I was like,
yeah,
I'm like, is this me? And then people were like, no, Booner, you're the one that's on air. And I thought you were on air, and I was off, and I was just talking like, oh no.
Well, it's ironic. I got booted right before I said I got to say something that people might not like.
You left us on the edge of our seats, man.
So here's what I wanted to say. All right. So if you look back since 2017, let's just go back to 2017. All right. That would be almost the last decade, basically. Besides Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, or just Tom Brady, I guess we'll go in general. So besides Tom Brady and Mahomes, there's been 3 teams that have won the Super Bowl. All right. 2 of them were the Eagles. One of them, of course, was the Rams. Less needed Howie Roseman. So is it crazy to maybe look at what they're doing? You know what I'm saying? If you don't have like the best quarterback or the second best quarterback of all time, that maybe we need to start looking at some of these other. And what do less needed Howie Roseman do? What we talked about earlier. They know when to be aggressive and they know when to not be aggressive. That's like the biggest difference. Like, that's why I think Brad, like, it doesn't hurt to maybe you want to be yourself, but it's good to take from what good, people have, what people, successful people do. It's good to be like, hey, that's what works for teams that maybe if you don't have Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady. Like, the Rams won with Matthew and they were aggressive, and the Eagles won with Jalen Hurts and made another one with Jalen Hurts, and then won one with Nick Foles. I know, and that one I would argue is probably more of an exception. I mean, you have random things like that happen sometimes, but still, it's still Howie Roseman. So that's why I'm so passionate about it. Is like, you see the path, you see how these GMs have success. Like, I just, Brad's pathway to winning a Super Bowl, I guess in his mind, and this is just based on what we've seen, is probably just draft develop. Draft develop will win. It's not all you do, man. There's more to it. And Les Snead can draft. Les Snead didn't have a first-round pick for like a couple years. Remember that? And they were finding a bunch of talent. You got to draft. It's part of it.
Forever. And they just kept winning somehow.
Yeah, like Howie, another one. Like Howie obviously has had first-round picks. I mean, he didn't have one with trading away for AJ, but he hasn't done the moves Les Snead's done. I'm not asking you to do what Les Snead's done, but still, like, they were more aggressive, and it worked out for them. So, yeah, it's just it's just part of it, man. You want to go around the NFL, start looking at some of these moves where we can react to them?
Yeah, I'm interested to think on kind of how you feel about some of them. I feel like we talked about Lions all day, which is what we cover, so it makes sense. But I do think, I know it was the third most trades.
With most trades ever? Fourth?
Yeah, I will
ever?
say this. I do think that's a little skewed because Shefty actually brought this up a couple of weeks ago where he was like, the NBA or the NFL trade deadline didn't really start turning into this until like a couple years back. Because it's always the NBA trade deadline's been the trade deadline that's like everyone's always on the edge of their seats. Shefty had said, I think it was him that's brought up the stat like the last like 3 or 4 years leading up to the deadline. Like they've had like the most trades every year, like breaks the record every year. I think this actually, compared to the last 2 or 3, I think this might be the lower end of it. I think that's just my thought. I'm not. It's not a fact, but it feels like today, like there was only 6 today. It feels like last year might have been the 8 year that they had 8 or 10 or whatever it was.
Yeah, it's probably more recent. More transactions are happening.
Yeah.
And shout out to Anthony, by the way, Pistons Talk. He says Brad Holmes reminds me a lot of Steve Yzerman. They don't make big splashes. The draft is their Super Bowl. They don't make any really big trades.
Except Brad's drafted very well. Steve, we're still waiting on a lot. That one's still.
You said on some draft. I wouldn't compare them, obviously. Like Brad's made playoffs. I mean, let's just do that. Hey, Steve, let's just make a fucking playoff before we can start mentioning you in the same breath. But to his point, passive GMs like Scott Harris, I know Caleb put out that tweet too. Like, yeah, I think people are just like, I think part of it, my theory on it is I think there's Lions fans, and I can't completely blame them, even though I think it's the wrong way to think. But there's people that have had to watch bad football for so long that the Lions, they've started winning over the last couple of years, winning some, they've looked good in the regular season. They've made an NFC championship game. They won a playoff game.
Yeah.
That people are now like, they'll defend this regime till death because of what it's brought them, which again, like I get you've had to watch so much bad football, but it's time to kind of take that next step and be like, hey, good football. It's great football we're watching. Like the Lions have a winning record. Like last year they won 15 games, but like we're not in this for the regular season, man. We're not in this for the regular season. That's
when do you think the tides turn a little bit? Because I feel like it's starting to happen a little bit. Because I think I would say over 50% of the fans today were pretty mad. When do you think it turns into like if you're like a 49ers fan with them over there and you just haven't won a Super Bowl, but you've just been in the NFC Championship game and some Super Bowls for the last like 12, 15 years.
Yeah.
And you've been good, and you've kind of been in this limbo that the Lions have been in the last 2 or 3 years, and you've never got over the hump. Like, there's got to be a point where Lions fans, you get to it and you're like, okay, are we going to make that move? At least for like the 49ers, they did end up being like, all right, we're going to trade for Christian McCaffrey. Like
they made a couple Super Bowls.
Yeah. But if you're the Lions and you're Lions fans and you go like, let's say you do get bounced in the AFC or the NFC Championship game or the divisional round again this year, aren't you going to be like, as a fan base, you got to be like, when are we going to actually make it to the Super Bowl?
Sometimes I'm surprised that fans aren't demanding more. Not again, there's fans that are like in our chat that are obviously frustrated, but it does surprise me. Like the 49ers fans have made Super Bowls. They've gotten so close to winning it. They went to overtime against the Chiefs in a Super Bowl, and they're still pissed off. And the Lions haven't even made one. And then there's fans out there like, how dare you criticize anything? And then there's 49ers fans that have made Super Bowls, and they're pissed. Like you'd think you'd look at them and be like, oh, God, you're fine. You've made Super Bowls. You've come close to winning them. Like you guys are. Like, and by the way, I didn't even mention John Lynch. John Lynch knows when to be aggressive too. Like, and I know it hasn't worked out, but guess what? You can at least appreciate, like you said, McCaffrey. Like they've done some aggressive things to try and push them over the top a little bit. But yeah, like 49ers fans get pissed if they don't win. If they don't win, they haven't won, but make a Super Bowl at the very least. It's like Lions fans, we got to start getting comfortable. We're in that tier now. It's Super Bowl or bust. Like,
for sure.
It's a different, and you want to be here, by the way. This is great. It's fun. I love it. It's where you want to be. It's not like I'd rather be talking Super Bowl or bust than years ago when we were arguing, will they win a playoff game? It's like, I like this way better. I enjoy this. I love this. It's fun. It's fun talking about a team that can win it all. But yeah, it's just, I don't get it. Fans that are like, you guys are, what do they call it? Merryweather, Fairweather fans?
Fairweather, yeah.
It's like, oh, you guys are just, you guys don't know what I went through. It's like, no, we do. It's a lot of bad football. I get it. But we're in a different.
It is weird, though. Like, we've all been through the same exact thing.
Yeah, it sucked. I get it. I understand it. But my goodness, we eventually, you know what I think? There'll be a time, Boone, where, in the next 5 years, and I'm not saying this will happen, but let's say hypothetically, let's say they just like keep doing what the Steelers are doing, where they're just making the playoffs. There'll be a time where those fans start waking up a little bit. They're like, all right.
That was my point with this whole thing. It's like right now, I think maybe 50 to 60% of the fan base is there. If they end up getting knocked out and don't make the Super Bowl this year, I think that adds another 20% of the fan base. And you're at like 75.
Right.
And then I think next year, if that happens again, that's when I think you might get closer to, you might be at more like 90, and there's still going to be about 10%. And maybe half of that 10% might be people who cover the team and don't want to admit that Brad Holmes is ever wrong. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying what I see on Twitter. But there's no emotion from Jeff over there. He doesn't
No, there is.
That man's on the Wednesday show. He doesn't want to ruffle any feathers. But I'll say it. Like, on Twitter's crazy. Some of these people who cover the team are just like, why are people mad? Like, what are you talking about? Like, everyone that covered the team for the last 2 weeks was like, they need to make a move. And then now all of a sudden they didn't make a move, and everyone's like, salute to Brad. Like, he's so good at what he does. It's like, what are you talking about? You guys know everything's documented.
Yeah, I mean it's that exact same. It's like it's the best way to describe it. People.
I love everyone too, by the way.
And even if the Lions just make the playoffs in the next decade and they don't ever make a Super Bowl, there are, I think, still people that'll be like, I'm cool with this, which is sad. Like,
I want a Super Bowl at the end of the day. Like, that's the goal.
That's what it's all about, man. You play to win the game. You play to win the Super Bowl. You don't play to win a playoff game. All right, that's what it's all about.
I think you said it best the other day, man. It was just like I think you said this. It might have been off camera, but you were just like, I would take one Super Bowl win if that meant I had to cover this team for the next 4 years and they were the worst ever. Like, they were like the Browns, and it's like I would as well. Like, I would love that. That would be the greatest thing ever. Just one give me one Lombardi trophy in one Super Bowl parade. That might hold me over for another 30 years, honestly.
Yeah.
And that's not a joke. Like, that's like dead serious.
Yeah. Not that they would even happen, because they have all these guys signed to extension. So you see would have talent. But let's just say hypothetically that was the case. They had to just suck ass the next couple of years. Oh my God. We would be partying on Woodward. I mean, we would be having a blast, and no one would give a shit about the next couple of years. Like, the Rams had down year. They won a Super Bowl, and they were kind of bad for like a year or two. Guess what? When you have a good GM, you get right back. You're right back. They get Puka Nacua. They get Byron. Byron Young. They get Braden Fisk. They get Jared Verse. They get all these defensive linemen. Now they're back. It's like you can. Not that you have to be that aggressive, but it is what it is. All right, let's get to these NFL moves. So Adam Schefter put out a tweet kind of recapping the entire deadline. And by the way, a lot of things happened. Obviously, the big team that was really, I guess, aggressive for the opposite reason, aggressive in getting rid of everybody, was the New York Jets. Shout out Aaron Glenn. They basically
good or bad. Can we start with the Jets? Like, I haven't talked to you. I guess we texted a little bit in our group chat, or Crunch Time group chat, about it when it did happen. But I'm interested in your thoughts on what's happening in New York, because I kind of gave I don't know, did you see my text today? I gave my theory on what I thought was going to happen with Woody Johnson, and how essentially I think that their goal the whole time, like, because remember, I think me and you talked about it for a while. Like, we're like, there's no way AG makes out of the year. And like, right after we got talking about it on the air one day, Woody Johnson makes comments and is like, AG's safe. And I think like the long term for the Jets was more so of them being like what Brad and Dan did here in Detroit, where they came in and they had about a year of just hey, we'll play with what we got, but we're going to get rid of everyone by year one. And that's what they did in Detroit. And then they just got a million draft picks.
Yeah.
And rebuilt for 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah,
I think that's what he
like
wants.
5 first, I think, the next 2 years.
Over the next 2 years. They could get any quarterback, I bet you they want in the next 2 years, and any edge rusher or defensive player or wideout. They're locked.
Yeah, I mean, you had so Sauce Gardner was traded. That was like the big one that broke today. That was like
Huge.
the big first one that kind of set the tone. He went to the Colts for 2 first-round picks and AD Mitchell. So Jets, I think it's a good trade for both teams. I think the Jets get, now I have my theory on what I would do. I think Sauce Gardner personally is a player you build around. That's just my opinion. But I don't think what they got for him was a bad trade. I mean, they got 2 first-round picks and another, I think, a pretty good receiver. I think he can be an AD Mitchell. So I get, hey, they just want to get rid of their players. Quinnen Williams, they traded also to the Dallas Cowboys for a second-round pick and a first-round pick.
Yep.
So they dumped their 2 best defensive players for a bunch of, draft capital. So they basically sold most of their core. And to your point, it signals what they are. They're an official teardown. That's what it is. Trevor Penning went to the Chargers. They lost Joe Alt. They don't have Rashawn Slater, obviously, so they need offensive line help. You had Mozzie Smith in that trade go back to the Jets, by the way. Mozzie Smith, Michigan man.
The Mozzie Smith. Yeah, I'll say this with what do you think about the Colts? Because I know they had Sauce.
You know what?
I think that defense is like one of the best in the league. I think they have such a good defense.
I think if you ask me, like, do I think they'll win make a Super Bowl in that AFC? I think it's just a quarterback conference. I don't think they will. But guess what? I applaud the Colts for being like, we got to maximize it. We got to at least give it all we got. Like,
let me look at the AFC right now.
Let's get the best corner we can get. And they get Sauce Gardner for the next 5 years. They have Sauce Gardner for the next 5 years.
I think it's a good
dude. They have Jonathan Taylor in his prime playing the way he's playing. Like, they don't want to wait. Jonathan Taylor's having a great year. Daniel Jones.
They have a great O-line.
Yeah, I applaud it. I like them being aggressive. Like, I like it.
Which some teams don't do. And Lions and Colts are on a different level because I think the Colts or the Lions have a better roster.
I agree.
But the Colts, I still think they have a great roster. If you do look at the AFC, I've been saying it for weeks now. Outside the Chiefs, who is it? Bengals are down, Ravens are down, Patriots are kind of just. I think the Patriots on the same level as the Colts. We talked about that yesterday. The Bills, they didn't make any moves, so it's really, who is it? So if you're the Colts and you do look at the AFC in the next 2 years, why wouldn't you be like, all right, Sauce Gardner's available, let's make that move. Let's find a way to get it done because I think you're dead right too. You do build around a Sauce Gardner. He is that good of a corner.
Dude, he's that good. Yeah.
And I text you guys, I was shocked they did it dude. I don't know. I was shocked. The whole connection. People don't know. Sauce's agent is AJ Vernachek or whatever. What's the big dude's name?
Big dude.
Not big dude, but he does all the cards.
Are you talking about
Gary V?
Yeah.
Gary V's brother. Gary V is in with the Jets, right? He is one of the biggest Jets fans in the world. He's in with Woody Johnson. That's a big, you know what I mean? That's a big connection there. Gary V's brother, AJ, is Sauce Gardner's agent. That's his agency. And Alante, his brother, that's also his agent. So he has 2 agents. Alante said today, essentially, his brother was like, we had no clue that we had 0 clue. He said, Sauce has no clue. He said they got a call about 12:30 today, and they were shocked. They had 0 clue that was going to happen. I cannot believe. I don't think anyone in the world knew Sauce Gardner was available for a trade. So you have to imagine in Indy when they find out, hey, we're looking for a corner, because the report yesterday came out that they were looking for a corner. I wonder if this happened within 24 hours. Reports come out, Colts looking for a corner. Jets GM calls and says, hey, are you interested in Sauce? We saw this or we heard this. And they were probably like, what?
Well, the thing, and I know people are like, well, Sauce Gardner fell off. Okay, here's
Sauce is good. He did not fall off.
25 years old. People are acting like this guy's 30. He's 25 years old. You know what I think will happen? A change of scenery is going to revive this dude.
He's a top 5 corner in the NFL. You can argue at his best, he's a the best, if not
He's the
top.
best corner at his best. Yeah.
Yes.
He's top 5. I know, dude, he's getting the best receiver every single week, and the Jets are so ass. I mean, I don't know. How do you get up and want to play every single week? Like,
no one wants to be with the Jets.
He's gonna be revived with the Colts. He's gonna be very, very good. And Quinn Williams going to the Cowboys, like they got a good interior pass rush. They got Kenny Clark and Quinn Williams over there. So, and James Houston, the great James Houston.
Oh my gosh, they actually do have a good interior. And that game last night too, they just couldn't stop the run. Imagine if they had Quinn Williams, they would have stopped the run a little bit better.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, okay, we can talk about my bet later after what we do. But we keep going through these. Sorry.
So yeah, a lot of trades happened. Jacoby Myers was traded. The Bills wanted to get him. He went to Jacksonville. Rashid Shaheed went to Seattle. There you go. Jalen Phillips. I know the Bears made an edge move. Joe Tryon Shoyinka. Yeah, like because they lost.
Yeah, he's not much.
Yeah,
they actually reached out about Jermaine Johnson, and they just. I think they offered a third, and they wanted a second or something. It was something like that.
Yeah.
How did you like those two wide receivers? Thoughts?
I think it's good for. I think it's good. Jacksonville. I know people they traded for Tim Patrick. Obviously, he wasn't doing anything over there, so they got Jacoby Myers.
That's such a big addition for them.
Yeah, Jacoby's an underrated player, dude.
Very.
He's a good. He can play too. Rashid Shaheed with Seattle pairs perfectly with JSN. Perfectly. Yep. He can stretch the field. JSN's going to eat up the middle of the field. It's a perfect pairing. I think it's great for them. You know, they have some receivers, but guess what? They want another one for Sam Darnold. So I like it.
Are you shocked? Because something I was shocked about today when it comes to the wide receiver market. One, I thought the Steelers were going to get a wide receiver. I can't believe they didn't go all in. Obviously it's Aaron Rodgers last year. You would think you give him a weapon. I was shocked that they didn't. That Jalen Waddle and Chris Olave just sat still.
I guess I was reading the Broncos wanted Jalen Waddle and the Dolphins was too expensive. I guess because that would be perfect with the Broncos. He would be a perfect fit over there. But I guess he was too expensive.
Yeah, I would have done it. If you're in the AFC again, it's so wide open. If you're the Steelers and the Broncos, I think especially with the Steelers, man, you're sitting there with 1 year of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, just fuck it, dude. I mean,
you can pair Jalen Waddle with DK Metcalf for 1 year and just try and get a playoff run, especially for how down the AFC is right now. Why not?
The Dallas made another trade. They got Logan Wilson from the Bengals. They went and grabbed him. So they got Logan Wilson and Quinn Williams. Jair went to Philly. That was already a trade. Michael Carter went to Philly. We already know that. John Mechie to the Jets in that trade. And then you have some of these other trades that were already kind of announced, which we already kind of know about. You know,
just the big
Rams. But yeah, it's really those top half of here that were crazy.
Yeah, I think the biggest storyline today was just the whole Jets debacle.
Who do you think won today? Or at least just won the deadline. Winners and losers.
I will say, if I had to pick, that's such a good question. I think the Colts, because I think the thing with the Colts is you have Daniel Jones on a cheap deal right now because he's kind of on a prove it deal. It might be even a 1 year. I don't know the exact deal, but you essentially got like your building block piece.
Mike muted. Telling you, Brad Holmes, man, they're hacking us. They're taking this operation down today.
Am I back? Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. What were you saying?
I think the Colts, man. I think long-term wise, like I know the Sauce deal is crazy. You give up 2 firsts, but like if you are the Colts legitimately, if you do look at the roster, like they're going to be a playoff team for the next 2 or 3 years, especially if Daniel Jones plays the way he does. I know a lot of people are like, well, last week he wasn't. Like Daniel Jones doing what he's doing now. He can do that for the next 2 or 3 years. And Jonathan Taylor, and a young wide receiver core, Tyler Warren, offensive line. I really do think that adding Sauce to that team, I know he's on a big deal, but that defense is now solidified for a couple of years. And like, you just don't need those first round picks now going forward. And I think they have a legit roster. Like that was, I wouldn't say that's their final piece, but that was like a big piece for them. Because I think Rashid Shaheed with the Seahawks was a really good move. That's going to help them out. But is that like we're talking about Sauce Gardner? A team added Sauce Gardner at the deadline. That's huge. That's an all-pro corner.
Yeah, how I look at it is the winner and losers is like teams. It's not about the most moves, but it's about teams that needed to make moves, or teams that could use the players they got. And I think the Colts are up there. I would even throw the Cowboys up there, man. Like you get a starting linebacker and Quentin Williams, you get Logan Wilson and Quentin Williams. That's a good deadline. Like that, they needed help defensively, and they got two really good players. So I think the Cowboys should be up there. And I still like the trade for the Jets. Like the Jets are now in a position where they have 5 first-round picks over the next 2 years, and like you said, they can. This draft is quarterback. Even though quarterback in this draft is kind of meh. I mean, it's not. I think it's going to be similar.
I hate it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a weird one. But there's going to be some receivers that are available too. So if they want to trade up or get talent, they will. But when you trade away Sauce Gardner and Quentin Williams for first-round picks, it looks great. But guess what? When the Lions did that, I know people were comparing the Jets doing this to the Lions trading away Matthew. The difference is when the Lions did it, they hit on every one of those picks. You have to hit on those picks because this means nothing if you miss on 3 of the 5. Then this trade looks a lot different. Then the Colts got basically Sauce Gardner, and you got 3 guys that are busts. Like so they got to hit on these players. That's like the big thing because the Lions got J-Mo, they got Jameer, Jack Campbell. I think there was a second in there somewhere. I don't know. I'm not 1,000% sure, but I think they got Sam Laporta or Brian Bray. Like you got to hit on those picks, man. It's just how it is. But yeah, I think the Jets are up there too. I mean, those are the teams I look at. Like they got significantly better in different ways. The Jets signaled for a rebuild, so whatever. That's kind of a to be determined, in my opinion, even though they got a bunch of draft capital. But the Colts and Cowboys today, man, they got better. Colts got a number 1 corner in the AFC, and the Cowboys got 2 pretty good starters. Quinnen's one of the best in the league, man. No question. But yeah, drop your mailbag questions. I know, damn, we only got 5 minutes left. This show flew by.
It's been going by quick, man.
I didn't even see that. Lukas just put, who's better, Trevor Lawrence or Daniel Jones? Oh,
I would have to. That's such a tough question.
Of course he's saying it right now. I mean, if we're saying
this is for you, I think, not for me. This is for you.
Well, I think we can all I mean, this year, who's been playing better?
Jeff said, well, I think we all can.
Is Daniel Jones. He's been better this year. He's been playing more consistent this year than Trevor Lawrence. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, he has 9 passing touchdowns and 6 picks. Like, it's not been great. But that's why they got Jacoby Myers. Now, you watch your mouth about Jacoby Brissett. That I'm not going to take.
Did you see the news today?
That Kyler Murray's out for whatever?
Yeah. Kyler Murray's healthy. They're rolling with Jacoby Brissett. They announced it. Jonathan Gannon. I think it's Jonathan Gannon there, right?
Yeah.
Jonathan Gannon he came out today and was like, I let him know. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but the tweet that I read, I was driving. I got an alert. I looked at my phone, and the way I interpreted the tweet was that when Kyler Murray is back, that they let him know that Jacoby Brissett's going to be the starter.
Well,
and it's like essentially the end of an era. Maybe I'm wrong.
Actually getting involved, so he's actually getting involved. So,
am I wrong with this?
Joe P, thank you for the $10. Just do fans really know who's on the trade block? We only hear public rumors, but plenty of players are available for a price. I bet we could have landed a starting interior offensive lineman for a 4th.
Hold on.
There's always a deal, Joe. I'm like with Cartier in the chat.
We'll just say I'm sorry.
You're about that are available, so you're spot on. Thank you for the $10, though.
Shout out Joe P, man. Absolute legend. Okay, you know what they did? It was a soft benching, Jeff, because this is not true. This is the fakest report I've ever seen in my life. Are you ready for this?
What?
Sources. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals have consulted with multiple doctors on his foot injury and just out of nowhere have been told the timetable for his recovery is 4 to 8 weeks. How many seasons or weeks are left of the season? 8-ish?
Yeah.
With an increased chance of a setback. How about this? They're not being like there could be a setback. Nothing like that. I've never seen this in my life. You would think that, like, hey, training is going to go well. We're going to crush training. We're going to get back as soon as possible, right? With an increased chance of a setback. So they're already ahead of time being like, there's going to be a setback. They're basically just being like, there's going to be a setback. Just letting you know, hey, we're going to have a setback no matter what happens until it's properly healed. Murray now has more time to heal. And then Dove Kleiman tweeted out, oh no. So Shefty must have tweeted out twice because Dove Kleiman tweeted out 5 hours ago and said, per Adam Schefter, the Cardinals are keeping Brissett as their starting quarterback. Kyler Murray has been benched. And then an hour after that, Shefty comes out and says this stuff about the injury.
Dude.
That's Kyler, a benching. He got benched. Stinks,
man.
Yeah.
Like Marvin, you draft a receiver in the top 5, you have to get him the fucking ball. I'm not just saying that I have him on fantasy. Like, dude, he's good. And Jacoby gets him the ball. Like,
he cannot, dude.
He can't get him the ball. He can't see over offensive linemen.
It's actually insane, dude. At least like with Russell Wilson, like the man could like figure it out. He was weird. I don't know. Like I don't even know how to explain it, but like Russell Wilson's not the biggest. Could figure it. Kyler really could not figure it out. Like that man's like 5'2".
Yeah, and Russ is a grinder. Like Russ, like Kyler had questions, like off the field. It's like his commitment to
Yeah.
He almost went pro. He almost went and played baseball, man. Like the A's drafted him. Remember that?
Honestly, he should have.
The A's drafted Kyler Murray. And
he was a first-round pick, Jeff. It wasn't like I think he was a top 10 pick. I think they were like expecting him to be like, hey, like they wasted a pick on Kyler Murray. Imagine wasting like a top 20 pick on a player and then them being like, yeah, I'm going to a different sport. Sorry. Like, why didn't you tell us that before? That's how bad the A's organization is. He was a number 1 overall pick in the MLB draft.
Yep.
How can you be that dumb of an organization to not make sure that player wasn't going to go play football, to waste a first overall pick? Who got drafted? Do you have the draft there? It looked like you had it pulled up. If you don't, I can pull it up. Kyler Murray.
He was drafted 9th overall.
9th overall? The 2019 draft? Or 2018? 2018 MLB draft. I want to see who got drafted.
They drafted
after
him with the understanding that he would finish his football career and then go, and then he won the Heisman. And then, you get to be another number 1 overall pick. So.
Casey Mize was the first overall pick in that draft, by the way.
He played center field.
Logan Gilbert got drafted after him. If you're the A's, could have got Logan Gilbert. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's tough. Tough look for the A's there. And for Kyler Murray to doing that to him.
That's crazy. At least you had Jared Goff, man. Yeah, Kyler Murray's a disaster. I feel bad. If Jacoby Brissett's your best option, that's a brutal one.
If I was Kyler Murray, honestly, you know what I would do?
What?
I would retire. Like Klotz put in the chat, I would retire and just go play baseball. Like he should try to go play for like the A's. Why not?
He's been in the league for how long?
Yeah, but at this point, like, baseball, you could play to like 40 something. Like, why not just try and.
Yeah. When's the last time you think he even picked up a baseball?
Probably this year. I'm sure he does all the time. It's either he probably picks up baseballs, Call of Duty controllers, and a football.
I Call of Duty controllers. I mean, yeah, he hasn't.
Remember this year when Call of Duty came out? Like, he had to make like a statement being like, I am not playing Call of Duty. Like, imagine like. Being that far into like that like people actually think when Call of Duty comes out you're that bad because you are, that you have to make like a statement about it.
You got to make sure people know you're not playing Call of Duty. I mean, that's just yeah, man.
So funny, dude.
I'm happy. My fantasy team's happy. I got Marvin Harrison, so I'm cool. I'm chilling.
Jeff, I got Marvin Harrison.
And by the way, Lucas says Booner answered to Julian Salen slander.
I again, my whole thing with the Julian Sand thing or Sand, whatever his name is, I would be in the same position as him if I was thrown to those 2 wide receivers. I would be a Heisman candidate as well. If he somehow wins the Heisman, I think he needs to take it to like a metal shop. They need to cut it in 3 and give it to each one of them.
You know what? I will say to credit, and I hate saying this, there was one throw he had in that Penn State game.
He's had some. He can
That
throw
was
it. He
nasty.
could sling it.
He had one. I think it was off his back foot. It was like a 50-yard back foot into a bucket. And I like some class. I'm not gonna blaze the guy, but that was a great throw by him.
I'll give him credit. Like he is a good quarterback. But I mean, I do think like take bias away, take a step back. It's like, yeah, the reason he is throwing to two of the best wide receivers in the entire country in one of the best offenses, like that have been the best offenses for how long? And one of the best offensive lines in the country. It's like, dude, you're set up to win the Heisman, you know? Like if Jeremiah Smith doesn't win it and Julian Sand does, like I don't even know what to say at that point. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Hey, we'll tomorrow will be fun with the
Jaden
doc.
Daniels too, by the way. ATN's like Jaden. Like if you watch Jaden Daniels at LSU, like that man was he was 100 times better than what Julian Sand's doing right now. 100 times better. Jaden Daniels ran for like over 1,000 yards at LSU and threw for I don't even know how much.
It was like, dude, it was like 40 something.
It's night and day difference. If Julian Sand won the Heisman, it would be like the bottom of the list best Heisman seasons compared to Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, so there's different nuances to that. Just bringing up the receivers, like you got to look at the player too.
Jaden Daniels was so good at LSU.
Mm-hmm. Can't wait to talk to the doc tomorrow, man. It'll be a good show tomorrow with the doc. So if you guys, I mean, if you want to watch a man like the DOC go off, you're gonna want to be here tomorrow. 8:00 p.m. We'll be live.
Oh, this will be fun.
It'll be live with the DOC. But until then, we will catch you all.
Love you guys.